hope this finds you well. Quick update, something arrived in the post today. Check these out. We've got new throttle bodies. Like I said, there was a bit of a debate going on in my head about whether to just replace the fuel rail, which is that bit there. Scumbag managed to snap them off just about there, or whether just to buy a whole new set. When it came down to it, just to replace that fuel rail there was going to work out to buy new. It's about 100 quid, just that little bit of plastic. And I picked these up on eBay for, I think it was about just over 140. So when I weighed it up, it just seemed to take a little bit of stress out of the situation just to go ahead and buy a complete set. Obviously I know I can just take mine off, put these on, we're good to go. It's off a 2008 Thruxton, this one. It's a little bit of muck in there, but we'll give them a good clean before they go on. But yeah, very happy with those. Just waiting for a window in the weather where I can get them stuck on the bike. But of course the other job that's still going on is the paint job. So I've got the front mudguard off. This front brace is looking ugly as sin. Look at the state of that. And you can imagine how much crap gets thrown up against that over time. So that's going to need we'll get a bit of rust treatment on that and give it a few coats of paint before it goes back on, just to make sure it's going on in the best nick it can be. One of the things I was going to talk about was I got a message from someone asking about the paint job I'm doing, and in particular the masking that I'm doing, in terms of how you go about making new measurements to make sure things are where you want them to be. So we'll cover that tonight. It's basic stuff, but if you don't get the basics right, your jobs are going to end up being far more difficult than they need to be. So we'll just go through it tonight, and I'll show you how I do it anyway. So let's have a look. Obviously, if this was a nice flat surface, you could just slap a ruler down on it and make all the measurements that you want, but it's not. Obviously, we've got a curve that runs this way, and well, let's be honest, there are guys out there who've been painting bikes and cars for 20 odd years who can just eye stuff, and that's great, but personally I would rather go for a bit of prep work. But because this has to follow a centre line, if it's out even slightly, you're going to see it. And I think any nice paint job you've seen, I would almost guarantee that the majority of the work that makes that such a good paint job is the prep work. So how do you find the centre line? Well, the first thing is to obviously look for reference points. Actually, on the surface, for the Speedmaster, what we've got here is two holes. What these do, they hold these two little clips. Because the Speedmaster's got dual discs on the front wheel, it just holds a brake line that goes across the mudguard there. But the way I'm working this design, I've gone for something that I wanted to go kind of less is more, and so what I'm doing is I'm masking off two lines that leave the factory black showing, and then spraying the matte plasti dip over there, and I've worked it so that the thickness of the lines is the same as the thickness of the center plasti dip line. Makes it easy. And so the last thing you want to be doing is sticking any kind of metal ruler or getting your tape measure out and flinging that around it, because you're going to scratch your mudguard all over the place. So good old-fashioned simple bit of paper. Just pop that across and mark your pencil line. And then, again, this is all real common sense, but it's worth talking about, because it's not just paint jobs that this applies to. It applies to fabrication and all other manner of jobs. Fold it in half and up to your pencil point, and there's your center point. You can offer that up, and now you know where your center point is at that particular point. What I wouldn't do, don't go getting a pencil or a pen or anything and start marking on your fender there. If that's a bit of, you know, flat steel that you're about to start bashing about and trying to shape into something, that's fine, but you know, this is a finished surface. You don't really want to be making marks on it. If you want to make a mark to try and eye that up, just get another bit of tape and put it on, mark on that, and then use that to eye that up. So that's relatively straightforward. You've got, you know, 2 holes to go off, but what happens down here? We've got no reference points on the surface here at all. The theory is, you know, almost identical. I'm going to use a bit of paper again. We may not have any reference points on the actual surface, but if we come around to the side, we do. We've got the holes where it bolts on. We've got, you know, these curves here. The reason those reference points are important is because when you're measuring across to find the central line, you need to have something to work to and from that you know is in line, that's at a right angle to that plane. Otherwise, you know, you run the risk of things being slightly out of kilter if your piece of paper starts to go at a diagonal. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put the camera down here because this is really a two-handed job. So I'm going to go to the other side of the mudguard, and I'm going to use this this sort of, you know, the center of that curve as my reference point. So all I do, so I'm using that center of the curve on the other side, wrap that around. This is why it's important to have a reference point. I don't want that going at a weird angle, so I can work it down to that same point there, and I know that that is near enough damn it square. Okay, then just hold that there, make your pencil point, so we know where that is. Fold into that pencil point, and hey presto, you've got your center point. And again, you can lay that on, making sure you're working to the pencil point you just made, and there's your center line. And again, if you want to transfer that across, just stick a bit of tape on there, use your pencil to mark it across, and what that means is you can end up with a series of visual references, you know, however many makes you feel comfortable doing the job. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Now when you've got your series of visual references, you stick your tape on one end and you can eye it to those. So you come to here and you can see where it's got to go down. You can come down wherever your next one is, see where it's got to come down. Just makes the job a damn sight easier.